Manchester United will be playing Tottenham tomorrow at Old Trafford. A massive game, maybe not as massive as it could be for Manchester United, but certainly for Spurs. They're right up there. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. I think if I said to you, who is the better manager at the moment, Ten Hag or Ange? Recency bias, in my opinion, has a big part to play in football. And a huge amount of people would pile on and say, Ange, it's Ange, he's the better manager. But did you know that this time last year, Manchester United, after 20 games, had 40 points, were in a Carabao Cup semi-final, went to 2 cup finals, won a trophy, but had 40 points after 20 games. Ange has got 39 points after 20 games. Ange is doing an incredible job at Spurs, and they are a breath of fresh air. I've been on this show for a couple of years now saying Spurs have no identity. What are they doing playing negative football? They've got that back. But I still think that Ten Hag is in an impossible position at Manchester United and has a rich CV at Ajax and a very good first season at Manchester United. And I do think recency bias does come into play quite often in the modern game. I mean, look at the Newcastle goalkeeper now. You'd say he's better than Onana. Yet in the summer, Onana was one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Of course, recency bias has a part to play because it's about form. But I don't believe Ange is a much better manager than Erik Ten Hag. And I don't think Ange could do a job at Manchester United, much the same as I don't think Pep or Jurgen Klopp could be. I think it's a poison chalice. But get your calls in on that, because I think most people would say, oh, Ange is a much better manager. But first season, doing a great job. Can he do it in season 2? And I think, can Ten Hag survive at Manchester United? We're going to get back to your calls as well. But of course, just on Manchester United, some breaking news in a sense. Dortmund have been playing. They've won. They were against the bottom team in the Bundesliga. And as we've heard before from many managers from the Bundesliga, the teams in the bottom half are a lot worse than the teams in the bottom half of the Premier League. But they've won. I think Jadon Sancho may have even got an assist. Just my quick thoughts on the Jadon Sancho situation. I wish him all the best at Borussia Dortmund. He was a player I really wanted to come to Manchester United, a talented young player. But the bottom line is that I think that Manchester United, you watch Newcastle, you watch Man City, you watch Liverpool, they've got players who are not only talented, but are ridiculously hardworking and consistent. They've got the mentality. Manchester United have failed at this for years, whether it be Jadon Sancho, Paul Pogba, Alexis Sanchez, Di Maria. They buy talent, but they don't seem to do much work on the background of these players, their mentality, their consistency. And I think that with Jadon Sancho, regardless of the argument on Twitter, regardless of the turning up late for training, over the last 2.5 years, can any Manchester United fan honestly, hand on heart, tell me that Jadon Sancho has shown that he's a Manchester United player? And that's all that matters to me. Whether he's arrogant or nice off the pitch, or whether he's late for training or he turns up all the time, or whether he's tweeting about the manager, has he shown in the last 2.5 years that he's a Manchester United player? And the answer is no. And even if he scores goals for Dortmund now, would you really risk giving him another year? We need him to go to Dortmund, put himself in the shop window and move on, because ultimately he's not the only one. And I find it incredible that Ten Hag is being criticised for, falling out or outing a player. He did it yesterday with Martial, and people are going, no, this ain't good enough. You've got to get rid of him. And yet, for the last few years, we've seen players not deliver for Manchester United. What if you can't make an omelette without cracking a few eggs? These players need to be kicked out. If Manchester United under Ineos and Sir Jim are going to revolutionise Manchester United and get anywhere near what we've just seen of Man City, then you need players of that quality and consistency. And Manchester United don't have it. And if you're moaning about Sancho being moved out, I actually think we need to go a lot bigger and a lot more than that if we want to get anywhere we need to be. So look, I wish Jadon Sancho all the best. I wouldn't have him back at Manchester United. And I suppose keeping the Man City theme, we've just seen a young player come on and score for Man City tonight, Bob. We've seen Foden break through. I always wonder why Pep Guardiola, when Jadon Sancho was at Manchester City, was so happy for him to go off to Dortmund and never wanted him back. Maybe ask Pep Guardiola about Jadon Sancho, because maybe he knew. Maybe he knew. I don't know. Anyway, let's get back to the lines. We've got John, who's a Fulham fan. John, give me your thoughts on the match today and the incidents in it.
Hi there. Yeah, thanks for letting me on the call. Listen, we're competing, Fulham. We're having a great season. We've not allowed to spend any of our owners' billions of pounds on players because of some ludicrous financial fair play. And we're competing with teams. We're still in the League Cup. You talk about Ange. Ange isn't in the League Cup with Spurs because Fulham beat them. You know, we beat Everton. We're in the League Cup semi-final. We competed with Liverpool on Wednesday night. We've got Newcastle at home in the FA Cup. And we've got a bare squad. We've got players, 7 players today, played in the Championship because we're not allowed to spend money. And how do you compete with that? And then you talk about the decisions. Man City away, a ludicrous goal. Chelsea today should have been a red card. We're not listen. We get some good decisions in our favour, but these decisions, the big clubs get the big decisions, and that's a fact. You know, so everyone's saying what great season teams are having. Fulham sold our best player the last 3 days of the window, brought in a journeyman Jimenez, who's had a tough time, but we're still competing. We gave Chelsea a very, very good game today. We spent 20 million quid this summer. They spent £1 billion in the last 18 months, and we're competing. So what I'm saying is, let teams like Fulham, who have got the rich owners, he's got to earn his money. It's not from a state like Man City and the Saudis. He's earned his money with a straight business in America. Let him spend his money. He's spending it on the stadium because there's a separate rule for what you can do with your infrastructure, your club. Let him spend some money. We're losing players because we're not allowed to spend the wages. And he's one of the richest owners in that Premier League. But no one knows the rules. No one knows how it all works. So we've got a small stadium, so we're not going to get 90,000 worth of gate receipts. We're not going to get loads of sponsorship, but we've got a rich owner who steadily has built our club up with a great manager who turned down 20 million quid in the Saudis because he believes in the Fulham journey. But someone needs to tell us how it all works, because I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. What are we allowed to spend? How does it work? Because he's thrown billions into the Jacksonville Jaguars. He'll do it at Fulham, but we've lost Mitrovic, Carvalho, Harvey Elliott. We've lost all these players over the years because we're not allowed to spend the owner's money. And then the big clubs come in. Man City have got an absolute Joey sponsorship deal. It had, I think, 500 million. And the Liverpool owner hit the nail on the head. He went, who came second in the tender process, which cleared up Man City to spend all this money. It's ridiculous. So all the while this happens, there'll never be another Leicester City. That will never, ever happen again, which was great for football, by the way. But how do you go about it? I mean, do you make clubs owners put £1 billion in an escrow account that no one else can touch? Because maybe that's what it needs. But at the moment, the big clubs are just getting better, and the smaller clubs are losing their players, losing the academy players. I mean, we've got 7 million quid for Harvey Elliott. Ridiculous. He's in the Liverpool first team squad. You know,
John. Sorry, John, a great call. I just wanted to jump in there and because this sort of fits in with what a Newcastle fan was saying before. So if you're just tuning in, John's basically saying there, look, Fulham have got money, but they don't know the rules. They can't spend the money. Newcastle this week got the money, but can't spend the money. If the financial fair play of the Premier League is suddenly going to get teeth, then it will restrict the Fulhams and the Newcastles because they don't have the revenue streams that the Liverpools and the Manchester Uniteds have. Some people would say, well, that's fine. This is what we want. But the problem you've got is Manchester City are fantastic. They were brilliant today. They've got a brilliant manager. They've won the treble, etc. But Man City for the last, 2008 to now, 2023, 15 years, 10 years, have just been able to do it. You know, they've been able to pump the money in. Now, they've got 115 charges against them, whether they've done it legitimately or not. They've pumped money in that can't happen anymore. So in one way, if you make these rules, it's the same for everybody. But there's one club in Man City who've been able to do this for years and years and years and are already far ahead. Well, how do Fulham or Newcastle get near them if they can't do the things that Man City did? It's a weird one. You've got to, I mean, I'd be interested to know people's thoughts. You've got to have rules, but on the other hand, the rules are going to, Newcastle are the richest club in the world, but they can't spend money in January and they've got an injury crisis. They can't compete with Man City because Man City have already done it. And Man City probably say, yeah, let's bring these rules in now because they've got away with it. Interesting. Right. We've got more calls to come as well. We've got a few Chelsea fans and I want to speak to the Coventry fan about the Championship. Brilliant win against Leicester today. And also I want to ask about the VAR stuff as well. But also keep those calls coming in about Ten Hag and Poch, because we're going to be talking about that in the latter part of the show as well. I'm asking who's the better manager. Are you going to go with recency bias, or are you going to go with the fact that Ten Hag has a CV and he's got a really, really difficult job? But it's really interesting down in the Premier League at the moment. With the title race, Man City look like they're revving up. But look at where Newcastle are. Look at where Manchester United are, 10th and 9th. Newcastle's next game's Aston Villa. They've got Fulham in the FA Cup. Their next 2 games for Newcastle are Fulham in the FA Cup away and then Villa away. Lose both those games, out of all the cups and in the bottom half of the table, probably. Eddie Howe shouldn't be getting the sack, but the Newcastle project at the moment is I think it overachieved last season, and I think it's underachieving now. Circumstantially, yeah, but look, it's an interesting project, the Newcastle job, isn't it?